Next, you pin me. So, any teaching, especially spiritual teaching, requires a context of teaching. Without a context, the teaching cannot be understood easily by people. It's difficult. It so happened that Ananda, the disciple of Buddha, was there with the Buddha all the time. And all Buddha's teaching, Ananda listened. So at the time of Buddha, Parinirvana of Buddha, there was a big gathering of all Buddha's monks, all enlightened monks. There's a hall of enlightenment. It's called Ananda Bhavana, Ananda Sabha, where only enlightened beings are allowed, not other people. So now all enlightened beings gathered. They said Buddha's teachings are important, we have to preserve them. Okay. So how to preserve them, Buddha's teaching, is the question. One person says, I can only remember few words. I can remember only few incidents. I can't remember full. Nobody could make out the full this thing. Everybody was focused on their enlightenment. Okay. Ananda was focused only on Buddha's teaching. He is not enlightened. So the problem, then somebody said, Ananda knows everything. Let us call Ananda. But Ananda cannot come inside the hall of Buddha enlightened beings. Then the message is, now it's a dilemma. Enlightened beings don't know the Buddha's teaching fully. Unenlightened being knows the Buddha's teaching fully, but he cannot teach. So then they tell the message to Ananda. Ananda says, next 24 hours I'll get enlightened. He just sits and remembers all the Buddha's teaching and gets enlightened. Then he is allowed to come inside the hall of enlightenment, Ananda Bhavana. So there he gives the discourse of Buddha's teachings. Ananda. Now the way he gives is very interesting. He'll tell the context first. The story is told first. When this happened, in what context the story is given. Okay. Then he'll tell the teaching. The teaching without the context does not make sense. So, for example, there is a teaching, and Ananda will reproduce word by word what happened in the whole context. Why the story is told, why the teaching is given, and what is the story behind that. There is one lady whose son dies. Okay. Then the lady comes to Buddha. You are a great man. Heal my son. Okay, I have only one son. So the Buddha says, bring me one fistful of sesame seeds from a house where nobody has died. She goes house to house and to find that every house somebody is dead. She comes back to Buddha. Then Buddha gives a teaching. Teaching is life is temporary. Okay. We should not cling on to life. Every house has a misery, sorrow. This is the teaching given. Now remove the teaching out of the context, the story. Then teaching is just because loses its color. Can be caught also. So Ananda says the story first, then teaching next. The context and the content. So this is true in any communication. Okay. Unless you know the context, the communication is meaningless. The words we take as too much importance. Words is not important. The context is important. For example, can you do this? Okay, I'll do this. Okay, I'll do this. Okay. Same okay. Different meanings. The context is different. Okay, I'll do this. Then is defeated. I am useless fellow. I can do whatever you say I do. I am like a dog or slave. I'll do it. Okay. I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. Okay. It's some jerk. Okay, I'll do it. Energy. Okay, I'll do it. Don't you hear me what I'm saying? So the context is important in teaching. Without the context, what happens? Teaching becomes just a general theoretical description. So many of the Puranas, many stories, many teaching of Buddha, they preserve the context very beautifully. So that the context gives a life to the teaching. Are you clear? So WhatsApp message doesn't give the context. It gives only content. The context of the person who is speaking is very important. Especially the context of an enlightened being is very difficult to understand through small short form messages. Today, short form messages are used for communication. There, the WhatsApp messages. I love you means I love you because some movie you remember. But I love you has 10,000 different meaning. You can't understand from that. Every word has deeper and deeper meaning. A enlightened being's talks comes from a depth of a meaning which is beyond comprehension. To take it as a simple face value, words value, will lose the context. The teaching will lose the context in the absence of the context. Are you clear? So that's what happened is Shweta Ketu. Shweta Ketu comes from the school. Okay, he has just graduated. He comes to the father. Father, I've learned every subject, he says, with that so much of ego. I'm the first class student. Look, he's hearing his voice, father understands. This fellow has too much of ego. Then he asks him, see, this is the context of the story. The story is a Tattvamasi teaching, just Tattvamasi teaching. Okay? Tattvamasi teaching, just 4 words to teaching. You have to give the context. Why happened? Shweta Ketu, did you learn by knowing which you know everything? No, father, I didn't know. And I didn't, my guru also doesn't know. That's the context. I don't know, my guru also don't know. Okay. So now, then father tells Shweta Ketu, Tattvamasi Shweta Ketu, you are that Shweta Ketu. He gives different examples. So these are the context. Otherwise, Tattvamasi is just one word. That doesn't make any sense at all. To make one word sense, he gives 9 examples. So that means you are Brahman teaching. But Madhvacharya comes and says, it's not you are Brahman teaching at all. You have to understand the context. The context is Tattvamasi is very egoistic. A egoistic person thinks he is God. So his father is saying, Atattvamasi Shweta Ketu is missing there. Oh, Shweta Ketu, you are not God. Okay? You are an instrument of God. That's what he's trying to teach. Same teaching, Madhvacharya teaches in the Dvaita language. Same teaching we teach us in Shankaracharya teaches in Advaita language. Same teaching Ramanujacharya teaches in Vishita Advaita language. The context of Madhvacharya teaching is Shweta is very egoistic. Okay? For him, father, egoistic person, there's no point in teaching you are Brahman. He thinks that he is already God. So you are not God. Atattvamasi Shweta Ketu. Live like an instrument of God. That's what he's teaching. Shankaracharya says, Shweta Ketu doesn't understand Brahman. That's why Brahman has to be teaching. Shankaracharya. Like that, context gives the flavor to the teaching. Are you clear?
If that story is not told, you are saying I can't understand.
You can't. Tattvamasi is what is there to understand? No. Tattvamasi, the teaching, 3 words. That teaching will get a flavor live with the context. So that's actually what happens in management case studies, right? Have you studied management case study? Management case study, they'll say supply chain management. Then they will give a big story about some company, this thing. It gives a context of a company. Then the theory will become practical, understandable. Okay. So this is the job of a spiritual teaching, context and content. Okay. Should we close?